All right, Jonah. So your series is really solid, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that you went in with a really, really clear intent. You didn't kind of meld an artist statement around images you wanted to take. You had images you wanted to take. You had an idea, you had a concept, and then you went out and you executed it. So we can see here that it worked out really well for you. It's not always the case that that's the way that a project works. Sometimes it does work in the reverse. But I think especially as you're getting started in photography and getting started in not just taking an image, but putting together a series, going in with a really strong intent is going to help you out. And we can see that that worked for you definitely here. So looking at your images, we'll look at them technically first. So let's just go through. You're at ISO 1000. I don't remember having an issue with that before, so we'll just double check that. The rest of them, you're keeping a pretty low ISO. This one's also ISO 1000. That's high. That's a newer image. Keeping a pretty wide aperture for all of them, which is fine. We know that's your preference when photographing, and sometimes that can be problematic. But we can see in these images that it makes sense to have a wide aperture for all of them. So that's perfect. And then let's just double check these shutter speeds, and you're keeping them nice and quick all the way through. So there's no issue with the shutter speeds as far as having camera shake or anything like that. And then as I look at the histogram, you're getting things blown out there, but that's totally fine. Yeah, it seems like your histogram is really controlled in all of these, right? We're not getting blown out highlights. We're not we can see we're not getting really blocked up shadows. So technically, I think these are right on. Let's just click through them really quick and double check that focus on them. So here, this was a high ISO, and I'm not seeing any issues with it. Totally sharp. His face is out of focus, right? That's just the using a 1.8. So that's something that I would encourage you to be aware of, is that when you are photographing two people, you're going to want to stop down a little bit because we want both of them in focus here. But I think that's your only technical issue in all of these images. So you're doing pretty well there. All right, the next thing I want to look at is the light for the images. Are you paying attention to the light? How is the light adding to your images? And we can see some phenomenal usage of light here. In the first image, in the second image, in the fifth image, those are just like extraordinary uses of light. Being really aware of the light, how you're using hard light here or soft light here to really create three dimension, and then adding the softness in this image, I think works so well when we're photographing kids, right? So having that softness relates to the emotion that he has and relates to like the innocence of childhood. So those two are working really well. This, you just have beautiful light on it, which is actually kind of surprising to me because you have so much red around here. Normally when people photograph, it looks like maybe you're on a playground. When people photograph kids on playgrounds, they're like always green or blue. Because you can get that beautiful soft light, but it's often surrounded by areas that have these really bright colors. So you're getting all these reflections, and we're not seeing that too much here. And then the other images, this is really beautiful light too. It's a little bit bright. I would probably pull back like a third of a stop on it. It feels a little bit overexposed. But overall, this is really nice light that you're using, the window light there. And then the other images, there's nothing wrong with the light, right? The light's not detracting from anything. It's not like you have bright highlights that are getting blown out and we're losing detail. It's not like the images are underexposed. It's just not quite as pleasing as the other images. So the light on his face here or here is a little bit flatter, and it's not adding quite as much dimension as you're getting in that image. So that's kind of what I'm talking about as far as these three images having really exceptional lighting. This has really nice lighting. This is great lighting, but it's not being used in a way that's really like adding dimension to your subjects or anything. It's adding a mood to the overall image, so that's working well. The composition of your images is all pretty simple. And that's something that we've worked on all semester, right? Is simplifying the images, not having busy images. You tend to do that just because you use a really wide aperture. So you tend to always have images that are a little bit more simple. And that would be my challenge for you as you move forward. So you've learned how to simplify images. You've learned how to break it down, find the most important part, and lead us as a viewer right there. So your next step will be to really build on that, make more complicated, more, I don't know, like compositions that move us around the image a little bit more, complex, I guess, of a composition. So that's something for you to think about. And as you're doing that, I would suggest that you really study the golden mean, right? That rectangle that we looked at. That will, with the spiral in it, that will help you understand how you can better compose images when they are complicated, how you can lead us through images but keep it still really organized. So that's something for you to continue to work on. It's something we're always working on as artists. And then the concept of your work. Like I said, you've established early what you wanted to do. And it's not overwhelming, right? We're not like hit over the face with really artificial emotions here. Some of these emotions are so believable. This image I think is by far your best image of this series, image number 2. Her joy there is like, it brings me in, it makes me joyful, right? It's captivating and it like rubs off on you at the same time. So that's just great. We had trust, I think fear. I forget what this was. It was clear when I was looking through them. We had disgust here, anger. Oh, so this was your anger image. Anticipation, fear, trust, joy, surprise. And this is, I'm guessing. So we can see those emotions clearly, and you've used the color in a way that's not overwhelming. So we aren't like hit in the face with these colors. We're able to look at the colors and just have those kind of subconsciously influence how we're reading the image. And that's really beautiful and really well done. The only image that I don't find believable out of all of these is image number 7. It seems a little too forced, right? The surprise is a little too forced. And that's just a hard emotion to put together. And I almost believe your son, but not your wife. I think your wife is trying to get that emotion from your son. But she doesn't actually look surprised there. So that's the only one that falls off for me as far as the concept goes. But overall, this is a really great series that you've put together. You've done great all semester. Looking at your contact sheet here, this is adorable. Yeah, I think you chose the stronger images. Here you're cropping in a little bit too much. These feel a little bit too posed. I think like forcing emotions out of adults is just going to be trickier, right? We're so used to like putting on a mask as we present ourselves to the world, where the kids are much more honest. And some of these are probably staged a little bit more. Like maybe this is a little bit more staged, but some of them feel really believable. Like this is totally believable. This feels very believable also. So great job with this. Great job all semester, Jonah.